Well, hello, and welcome once again to the Nathan Nephew Show. I am, of course, Nathan Nephew. Got a lot to talk about. We have some AP phone records being grabbed. We have the IRS scandal. IRS targeting conservative groups, Tea Party groups, religious groups, everything that's not Obama-friendly. Of course, Benghazi. That hasn't stopped. And, of course, the assault on our Second Amendment, along with all of our other rights, is still as strong as ever. Bill Mahr. Bill Mahr has never been a great friend of the Second Amendment. In fact, he is the one who came out and said, because liberals need to say what the truth is, and that is that the Second Amendment is bull crap. Right, except he's on HBO, so of course he didn't say crap, right? But he's a gun owner, which kind of blows my mind. I mean, I understand it because I see it. Even with hunters, people who have their deer rifle or their shotgun, and they think that that's all they need, and so they don't have to worry about the Second Amendment or the ongoing assault on our gun rights or things like that. And they think, well, as long as I have my deer rifle, I'll be fine. And that's not always the case. And today it's the case, but tomorrow it won't be. I mean, I've went over this several times. We talk about it on At Odds, atoddshow.com, by the way. We talk about that all the time with Brian about how today it's assault weapons and, fully automatics and high firepower and all these false arguments. But once those are gone, once we have registration and confiscation and those are gone, the next logical step is deer rifles, right? We've heard Brian say it. Today's deer rifle is tomorrow's sniper rifle. And it's not a big leap because when you look at the guns that are targeted today, the AR-15, right? Shooting maybe standard a 223, and then you look at today's deer rifle, a 30-06. Once that information gets out and the gun grabbers realize what the hell they're talking about, or once, the AR-15s are gone, but they still see these huge bullets on the shelves at Walmart, it'll be easy to say, oh, well, I mean, we banned AR-15s and they have those little bullets. We need to get rid of these huge, these real murder weapons, the 30-06s that are killing deer and can also be used to shoot children. We need to get rid of those because of the firepower. I mean, who needs that much firepower? S.E. Cupp was on Bill Mahr along with Michael Moore. And Michael Moore never has anything intelligent to say about any subject ever. So, of course, I think he was a bit shocked to find out that Bill Mahr owns a gun, and wanted to know how much he went to the range and all these things. But let's listen to what Michael Moore said was the solution, a better solution than having a gun in your home.
Don't be afraid of him. He won't hurt you.
I say all the time on this show, as long as we live in the gun country, I ain't giving up my gun.
There you go.
There have been 12 home invasions in my neighborhood in the last year. Let me ask a question that would...
Of course he has a
two
gun.
guns.
He's wearing one now.
One upstairs,
shooting range
one
to
upstairs and one down.
How often do you go to the shooting range to practice?
A few times a year.
You need to go more than that. I mean, if you wake up in the middle of the middle of the night for you,
Let's go tomorrow,
10
Mike.
in the morning.
I'm sure Bill Mahr, like most gun owners who are lawful gun owners, is a responsible gun owner.
But
Yes,
if he's coming out of a deep sleep and then he hears something in the house to find your gun and in the dark try and shoot somebody,
as opposed to what? Just getting mowed down? I don't understand
get
this
a dog.
idea. I have a dog too.
That's all you need. The criminal
He's
does
about
not
this
want to
big.
That is
enter.
not all I
Get
will
a bigger
need.
dog.
My dog has a gun.
Let me ask you this. Why has gun homicides gone down?
Are you kidding me? Just get a dog. That's all you need, right? I mean, because if somebody breaks into your house in the middle of the night, all you need is a dog because they can't easily just shoot the dog or kick the dog or, I don't know, throw a stake down for the dog. And I mean, look at what's happening with dogs, right? I mean, we essentially have the same thing as assault weapons with dogs when you talk about pit bulls or German shepherds, Rottweilers. They look mean. They can be dangerous, like all firearms and all dogs, but generally, with the right owners, the right handlers, they're completely safe. There's no difference. They look different. they look scary. So, I mean, the same thing is happening with dogs as assault weapons. The difference is the Constitution explicitly states that we have a right to bear arms. Not so much for dogs, but there's not much of a difference. There's cosmetic differences. There is functionality difference between a Yorkie and a pit bull, much like an AR-15 and, a Ruger 1022. But really, I mean, I guess the point is this debate will never end as long as firearms exist, and firearms will always exist. And we'll always have morons like Michael Mahr talking about, I mean, S.C. Cupp brought up the fact that, mass shootings have decreased in the last few years since Columbine and even before that. And Michael Mahr says, oh, no way, that's absolutely false. Well, he just won't accept the truth. Even Bill Mahr said, well, if that's true, it's true. I mean, we have to go with the truth. This was a bit weird because, Bill Mahr hates the Second Amendment, but he was not necessarily defending it, but being a bit honest, intellectually honest on this episode. And that was just, good to see. I mean, it won't last, and it really just depends on which group of people he's with. Zach Galifianakis was on there, and was applauding gun registration, so I think we might know where he stands now. Of course, he didn't light up a joint or shoot up heroin like he has previously, or, faked previously on Bill Maher's show. Anyway, I don't know. The IRS, last Friday, was it? They came out, apologized for inappropriately targeting conservative groups who were filing for tax-exempt status, nonprofit, 501c4s, was it? They singled out, about 7,500 organizations that had Tea Party or Patriot or Constitution or We the People or Improve the Government or Hey, This is America or anything that sounded like it might not be complete liberal garbage in their name. And of course, like every single scandal, or, oh, did I say scandal? Every single thing that happens in government, it's always blamed on the low-level operators. Nobody at a higher level ever knows about it. Of course, the president never, ever knows about it. In fact, he said, excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold here, but Obama said that he learned about this while watching the nightly news with the rest of America, which is a bit troubling. I mean, something this big that they said was confined to Cincinnati, Ohio, to the IRS office in Ohio, which is not the case. But that's what they said. And Obama said he hadn't heard about it until he watched it on the news, which also I don't believe. But then he had a meeting with the Turkish prime minister, and with those sorts of meetings usually come a joint press conference, which did happen. And by the way, it was raining, and by the way, he made the Marines go ahead and put their guns down to hold umbrellas for him and the worthless prime minister of Turkey. They had to hold umbrellas over their heads. So they didn't get rained on because they might melt if they got a little water on them. But I don't know. It's fine. I guess I shouldn't make a big deal about that. I'd like an umbrella when it's raining, even though I generally don't use them. But if I had to stand out there and speak to the press who I knew might possibly want answers because my administration had just seized the phone records from one of the largest media groups, the AP, and so the press was upset with me, I might want an umbrella so I don't have to stand in the rain. Obama was asked right off the bat, he was asked fairly decent questions. Did you know about this before you said you knew about it? And should you have known about this before you knew about it? And in typical Obama fashion, he dodged the question. And in fact, while answering this question, he stopped and said, how can we get some umbrellas? I'm going to answer your question, but let me go ahead and take a break in the middle of this answer and get some umbrellas, so I don't have to answer it and maybe you'll forget what I was saying.
Can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about the agency's actions before your counsel's office found out on April 22nd? And when they did find out, do you think that you should have learned about it before you learned about it from news reports, as you said last Friday?
Now, pay attention here. She said, can you assure us that nobody in the White House knew about what was going on at the IRS? Now listen to his answer. He didn't quite answer that question, even though he says, let me make sure I answer your question directly.
Make sure that I answer a specific question. I can assure you that I certainly did not know anything about the IG report before the IG report had been leaked through the press.
So she asked, did you know what was going on at the IRS? And he said, I didn't know about the IG report. So you didn't know about the report from an internal investigation, which you said they usually keep close to the chest. That wasn't the question, Mr. President. The question was, did you know, did anybody in the White House, can you assure the American people that nobody in the White House knew about what was going on at the IRS? And you can't even answer that simple yes or no question. Yes, I can assure that nobody in the White House, or, you know what, nope, we knew about it. No, instead you're going to completely dodge the question, use the rain as an excuse, and answer a different question that I didn't know about the IG report, until I saw it on the news and it was leaked, because those aren't generally leaked, but this one was leaked, and, that's just crazy that sort of thing. Lie. I mean, that's what we get, right? I'm going to take a quick break. A lot more with the IRS coming up, including Jay Carney talking about the transparency of this administration, which we just got a glimpse of in the dodged question. I'm not sure if that's what they mean by transparency or not, but we were promised that the Obama administration would be as transparent as possible. Remember, you can send me an email, talk@nathannephew.com. You can check out this show and past shows at nathannephew.com, as well as right here on Red State Talk Radio.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-932-5146. 800-932-5146. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-932-5146. 800-932-5146. Call now.
Red State Talk Radio. Conservatism, Red State style.
Welcome back to the Nathan Nephew Show. I am, of course, Nathan Nephew. There is something rather disturbing that has come out of this IRS scandal, and that's, as we all know, the IRS is the enforcement arm of Obamacare, of the Affordable Care Act. So the IRS will be in charge with enforcing these laws and imposing these tax penalties, on people who don't have the correct insurance, don't have insurance at all, or businesses who opt out of offering insurance to their employees because it's too damn expensive for them to do it, and they would go out of business if they were indeed forced to offer insurance. The IRS, the ones who were targeting conservative groups during election season, campaign season. Well, Sarah Hall Ingram, she served as a commissioner of the office that was responsible for tax-exempt organizations. And what time period was that? Between 2009 and 2012, right during the campaign. Since then, she's left, and now, guess where she's at? She's the director of the IRS's Affordable Care Act office. So this woman who was in charge of the tax-exempt organizations while this whole scandal was happening is now in charge of the Affordable Care Act office. So you think it was bad enough that you're trying to set up a local Tea Party group and you're trying to, make it right with the IRS and become a tax-exempt nonprofit, and you get this questionnaire asking, who are your donors? What party are you affiliated with? What sign do you put in your front yard? Have you ever had any meetings? Will your board members ever in their lifetime run for office? These sort of questions. If you pray, what's the content of your prayers? Right? Things that have nothing to do with taxes, but the IRS needs to know them. So all that just to set up a tea party. Can you imagine when you're sitting on a hospital bed, maybe with your child who's sick and needs urgent care? Right now we can fight this because, yeah, it's a Tea Party group. It's important, obviously, but it's not quite yet life or death. But when you're in a hospital, sitting there with your child or your wife or your spouse or whatever, and you're handed this stack of paper to fill out from the IRS, you're going to do it, and you're not really going to have time to argue because the most important thing, obviously, will be the well-being of your family. Much like hunters today who have their hunting rifles so they don't care about what's going on with, other sporting rifles in the Second Amendment because it doesn't affect them today. Tomorrow it will. Tomorrow it will be your health care. Tomorrow when you're at the hospital, you will be dealing with this scrutiny. If you're a conservative, if you're a Christian, if you're Jewish. It's just ridiculous. Before the break, we heard Obama talk about, how he didn't know anything about the IRS scandal. Oh, well, wait, no. He didn't know anything about the IG report before it was reported on the news. Remember, he's going to be the most transparent president ever. Jay Carney, whose reputation has been tarnished lately, it's to say it bluntly, he's been lying. It's obvious that he's been lying, and he has known that he has been lying. He was on Piers Morgan, and Piers said, with all these scandals, how will Obama gain back the trust of the American people?
Well, I'm not sure. Again, you're concocting scandals here that don't exist, especially with regards to the Benghazi affair that was contrived by Republicans and I think has fallen apart largely this week. The fact of the matter is that this administration has a record on transparency that it outdoes any previous administrations, and we are committed to that. The president is committed to that.
The Republicans made up Benghazi. Those 4 Americans that were murdered and the brave people that wanted to help them that were told to stand down, the Republicans made that up. The fact that the State Department came out and said it was a video, knowing full damn well that it was not a video, and they stayed on that lie for 2 weeks. The Republicans made that up. Really? And, I don't totally disagree that the Obama administration outdoes other administrations when it comes to transparency, but not in a good way. You think maybe Nixon was pretty bad. I think the Obama administration is horrible. Congress has denied access to witnesses on Benghazi, things like that. The AP, didn't know that their records were being grabbed. Transparency, this is not transparency. I want to end with, there were hearings this week with, for the IRS scandal. And Representative Mike Kelly, a Republican from Pennsylvania, gave a speech during his 5 minutes of questioning. He asked a couple questions, but, didn't get much answers. He gave a speech. I want to play most of his speech. It garnered a standing ovation from the audience, which I don't think is really supposed to happen, but it's pretty good. It's pretty scathing, and I think he says what most Americans are thinking.
I understand that, but I'm hearing these are low-level people that push the wrong button. Now, when Cincinnati can't figure out, who do they confer with? Who's their counsel when they're looking at these entities, tax-exempt entities? Does it come back here to D.C.?
There's two possible.
Yes or no? Does it come back to D.C.?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So D.C. and Cincinnati, we pretty well connected in understanding what's going on. So this doesn't come as a great shock to anybody. In fact, I would say it doesn't come as a shock. You know what it does for the American people? It really establishes what they feared so often. I have a grandson who's afraid to get out of bed at night because he thinks there's somebody under the bed that's going to grab him. And I think most Americans feel that way about the IRS. I mean, you get a letter from you folks or a phone call, it's with terror that you look at it. And now this kind of reconfirms that, you know what? They can do almost anything they want to anybody they want, anytime they want. This is very chilling for the American people. Now, I know that where you're at, you're resigning, you're walking away from it. But this is not going to go away. This is a Pandora's box that has been opened, and I don't think we get the lid back on it. And I don't believe that the White House just found out about this in a news report. The president happened to grab a TV shot or just read Mr. George's report and said, you know what, anybody heard about this before? I'm just getting a first look at this. Shouldn't somebody be responsible? And I'm thinking maybe the executive office, maybe Treasury falls in there. I'm not sure that we understand how that organizational chart works. But I am really concerned. Now, I got to tell you, where you're sitting, you should be outraged. But you're not. The American people should be outraged, and they are. And this committee, this has nothing to do with political parties. This has to do with highly targeted groups. This reconfirms everything that the American public believes. This is a huge blow to the faith and trust that the American people have in their government. Is there any limit to the scope of where you folks can go? Is there anything at all? Is there any way that we could ask you, is there any question that you shouldn't have asked? My goodness, how much money do you have in your wallet? Who do you get emails from? Whose sign do you put up in your front yard? This is a tax question? And you don't think that's intimidating? It's sure as hell intimidating. And I don't know that I got any answers from you today. And I don't know that what Mr. George has done is great work. But you know what? There's a heck of a lot more that has to come out in this. And anybody to sit here today and listen to what you have to say, I am more concerned today than I was before. And the fact that you all can do just about anything you want to anybody, you know, you can put anybody out of business that you want anytime you want. And I got to tell you, you talked about you're a horribly run organization. If you're on the other side of the fence, you're not given that excuse. And when the IRS comes in, you're not allowed to be shoddy. You're not allowed to be run horribly. You're not allowed to make mistakes. You're not allowed to do one damn thing that doesn't come in compliance. If you do, you're held responsible right then. I just think the American people have seen what's going on right now in their government. This is absolutely an overreach, and this is an outrage for all America. I yield back.
All right. Mr. Griffin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr.
Right. The committee will come to order. We'll have order in the committee. Mr. Griffin's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, is that any different than you feel every day that you think you might have to deal with the IRS? I mean, they're this big mob that can control most everything you do. And that goes back to my point about Obamacare. You're worried about your small business, your livelihood, you know, your small little tea party. But when it starts coming to your health care, and it's the same organization that today can shut down your small business because you miss a line on a tax form, think about that same thing and apply that to your last emergency visit or emergency room visit. The last time that your child, you know, fell off his bike and broke his arm, or you know, I mean, geez. This is the kind of stuff that we cannot stand for. This is the kind of stuff that we have to fight back while we still can. There are definitely some men in Congress and women that are doing a great job. I mean, Paul Ryan even from Wisconsin came out and said, you know, Mr. Miller, you misled us, right? You lied to us under oath before. I don't know if anything will come of that, but he at least took it to him and questioned him and said, this isn't right. You misled us. That's illegal. Explain yourself. But we, the people, along with our representatives, we need to use them as tools. We need to push them, put pressure on them to get to the bottom of these things, to the AP scandal, to the IRS scandal, to the Benghazi scandal. Get to the bottom of them, take corrective action, and fix things now while we still can before it is too late. That's all the time I have today, though. I want to thank you for listening. Stay tuned in right here at Red State Talk Radio. NathanNephew.com. Email me, talk@NathanNephew.com. See you next week.